I got banned from my own golf course. Yeah, you heard that right, banned. Labeled a trespasser, humiliated in front of people who didn't have a clue that the place they were trying to kick me out of was mine. I didn't yell, didn't make a scene. I just walked away knowing one day the truth would burn brighter than their arrogance ever could. See, I've never been the type to flash my success. No fancy watches, no flashy cars. I built my business from scratch, kept my head down, and when I finally had enough saved, I didn't waste it on toys. I bought something that mattered to me, a golf resort called Pine Creek. It had this old-school charm, long fairways wrapped in trees and homes tucked neatly around the course. It was supposed to be a place of peace, but peace doesn't last long when an HOA is involved. The place had been mismanaged for years. The finances were a mess, the greens patchy, the restaurant barely keeping up. And on top of that, the local homeowners association, this self-righteous little council of retirees, acted like they owned the entire resort. They strutted around wearing their shiny HOA pins like they were law enforcement whispering about standards and community values. The HOA technically had nothing to do with the golf course itself, but try telling them that. I bought the property quietly through my holding company. Only the general manager knew the truth that I was the new owner. I told him to keep my identity private because I wanted to experience the place like any regular member, to see what was really broken from the ground up. And it didn't take long. A few weeks in, I started noticing how staff would go pale whenever certain board members walked by. Guests whispered about those people on the board like they were untouchable. And at the center of it all was one woman, Karen. Late 60s, sharp tongue, platinum hair, always tucked under a matching visor. She had that stiff smile people use when they think they're better than you. Every day she'd drive around in her little golf cart, checking who parked where, who dressed appropriately, who dared play more than one guest round per month. At first I thought she was just another bored retiree, but then came the morning that changed everything. It was early, maybe 7:30. The sun was just rising, painting the fairway in gold. Barely anyone was out there. I was lining up a shot on the 7th hole, my favorite one overlooking the creek, when I heard the whine of an engine behind me. A golf cart came barreling down the path like a police chase. "Excuse me," a voice snapped through the air. I turned. Karen, head to toe in pink golf gear, sunglasses the size of her ego, and that cursed HOA pin gleaming like a badge. "I need to see your membership card immediately. No hello, no good morning, just an order." I blinked, caught off guard. "Good morning. I checked in at the pro shop. They can vouch for me." "That's not how this works," she said flatly. "Members carry their cards. If you can't show one, you need to leave. Now." I tried to stay calm. "I understand your concern, ma'am, but the staff knows me. We can sort this out easily." She tightened her lips. "Do you know how much we pay to keep this place private? We can't have strangers wandering the greens." I lowered my club and said evenly, "With all due respect, the HOA doesn't actually control the golf course." Her face went crimson. "How dare you tell me what the HOA controls? I've been on this board 8 years. This course exists because of us." Next thing I knew, she was on her phone calling security, claiming I was trespassing and being aggressive. The guard who showed up was young, maybe early 20s, clearly nervous. She fed him the same story, and the poor guy looked like he didn't know who to believe. "Sir, do you have your card?" he asked. "No," I said. "But you can verify me at the clubhouse. I checked in properly." Before he could reply, Karen cut in. "That's completely unacceptable. He's breaking the rules." The guard shifted awkwardly. "Maybe we can go to the clubhouse and confirm," he said. "Sure," I nodded. As I gathered my clubs, Karen leaned toward the guard and whispered loud enough for me to hear, "Make sure he's documented. The board will want to review this." We rode back in silence. The guard muttered an apology under his breath. "She's been reporting people a lot lately." "Yeah," I said, "I bet she has." The next morning, I got an email from the club membership suspended for aggressive behavior and failure to present identification. I laughed out loud. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I forwarded it to my lawyer and said time to dig. What we found made my blood boil. That same HOA board had been pulling strings for years, reserving prime tee times under fake names, threatening staff with HOA complaints, blocking membership applications from people who didn't live in the community. They even pressured previous management to get board approval for business decisions they had no right to influence. It was corruption dressed up as community service. For a few days, I thought about walking away. I really did. I sat in my office staring out the window thinking maybe I'd made a mistake buying this place. Maybe Pine Creek wasn't worth it. Maybe I was fighting a battle I didn't need to fight. I'd worked too hard for peace and this wasn't it. But then the general manager came by. If you walk away, he said, they win. You built your success on fixing broken systems, right? Well, this one's cracked wide open. He was right. This wasn't just about me. It was about every staff member Karen had bullied, every guest she'd humiliated. It was about the kind of rot that spreads when nobody pushes back. So I didn't walk away. I planned something instead. We announced a community meeting mandatory for HOA members and open to all residents. A representative from ownership will speak, the email said. That alone caused a storm of gossip. Karen and her little entourage showed up early, sitting front row, arms crossed, smug smiles plastered on their faces. When the room filled up, the general manager stood at the podium. Thank you all for coming. Tonight, ownership would like to address recent concerns regarding management and community relations. That was my cue. I walked up slowly, feeling every pair of eyes on me. I could almost hear Karen's teeth grinding. Good evening, I said. Some of you might recognize me as the guy who got kicked off the 7th hole last week, the so-called trespasser. A few chuckles broke the tension. Even some of her allies looked uncomfortable. Before we talk about that, I continued, I want to share what we've discovered over the past few months. I started clicking through slides, membership records, complaint patterns, time logs. Every piece of evidence showed a system abused by people in power. I didn't name names, but everyone in the room knew who I was talking about. This is outrageous. Karen shot up, her voice trembling with fury. You're just trying to smear the board. Who even are you? I looked her dead in the eye and said calmly, maybe I should have started with that. I'm not just a member. I'm the owner of Pine Creek Resort. The room went silent. You could have heard a tea drop. Karen blinked like she'd been slapped. That's not possible. We would have been informed. The HOA has approval rights. Actually, I said you don't. The HOA doesn't own the course. You have no jurisdiction here. Her face twisted in disbelief, searching for someone to back her up, but no one spoke. I clicked to the next slide, security footage from the 7th hole. No audio, just her waving her arms, pointing while I stood there calm as ever. This, I said, is what happens when power goes unchecked, when entitlement replaces respect. I took a breath, letting the silence do its work. Starting today, I continued, we're making changes. Clear boundaries between the HOA and club operations. Digital membership verification, no more gatekeeping. A new code of conduct for everyone from staff to board members. And a fair tea time system for all. No exceptions. The murmurs grew louder, the tension cracking. Karen's hands shook as she pointed at me. You can't just waltz in here, and an older man stood up in the back. Actually, he said he can. He owns the place. And that was it. The room erupted. People started talking, some angry, some relieved, but all finally free to speak. One by one, residents shared their stories, times they'd been intimidated, silenced, excluded. I saw it hit Karen like waves. The authority she'd built her life around, crumbling in real time. 3 of the board members stormed out, faces red, muttering about lawyers and defamation. I didn't stop them. I just stood there watching years of manipulation dissolve under the weight of truth. A few weeks later, the resignations came in quietly. Karen's name was among them. 6 months passed. Pine Creek came alive again. The fairways were full, the staff smiling, new members joining. The new HOA focused on things that actually mattered, neighborhood safety maintenance events. The line between the resort and the board was finally clear. One afternoon, I saw Karen again outside the clubhouse. She was walking slower than before, shoulders lower. She stopped when she saw me. I owe you an apology, she said softly. I nodded. Apology accepted. We stood there in silence for a moment before she turned and walked away. And as I watched her go, I realized I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to rub it in. The win wasn't in humiliating her, it was in fixing what she broke. Because sometimes the best way to fight fire is to let the truth burn brighter.